Hey everybody, this is my former Waterfall, and the other day I had to shut it down. We had some leaks that were just too much for me to deal with, just catching in a bucket. It was getting out of control, and so the Waterfall part of my Waterfall tank here is shut down. That of course is a freestanding separate unit. I do just have it sitting right over top the edge of the tank, and so it flowed down into the tank, and now that it's shut down, the tank doesn't really have a whole lot in the way of circulation. I don't want to get into a big video about the nitrogen cycle just yet. I do want to talk about that coming up in the very near future. I was already thinking about the nitrogen cycle, and now that this happened, this gives me a good reason to talk about it. But my nitrogen cycle has been disrupted. I did check my ammonia levels last night, and as I suspected, they were about 0.25 parts per million. I know that's not a lot, but the fact that I was showing detectable amounts was more than I should see. If your nitrogen cycle is up and running properly, you won't see any detectable amounts. Let me turn this light on for a moment. Give us a little better look into the tank, although all we're seeing really is air bubbles. So when I disconnected the Waterfall, you can see the hose back here. I just disconnected the hose, but I left the pump running to give me some circulation. But that's like a 900 gallon an hour pump. It moves a lot of water. And so the fish were just like, they didn't know what was going on. That tank was sloshing around. It was like the inside of a washing machine. And so obviously I couldn't leave it like that. So I shut the pump down. I put the air stone in there. And while that is keeping the tank aerated and the gas exchange is happening properly, that not only means it's getting oxygen put in the water, but it's also getting CO2 taken out of the water. That is very, very important, probably if not as important as the oxygen going in, maybe even more important than the oxygen going in is the CO2 getting out of the water. So the air stone allows for that to happen, but it doesn't give me a huge amount of circulation, especially when you look at the fine little bubbles. They're not even all the way down near the bottom or anything else. So we've been keeping the fish alive like that, but as I said, my ammonia levels were starting to creep up a little bit. I did a huge water change last night, but that's not going to cut it. We've got to do something more, and that something more is going to be putting a brand new Tetra Whisper power filter for a 40-gallon tank on here. Now, I will talk about these filters for a few moments because I really, really do like these filters. I'm not being paid. I don't do sponsored ads or anything like that. If you see me talking about something, good, bad, or indifferent, it's just my opinion. But I really do like these Tetra Whisper filters. I've used them for years. They're simple. They're basic. They do exactly what I want them to do, which is suck water up into a area that has a filter and has a biosponge, and then it flows back into the tank. It does it very quietly, and it does it very reliably. I don't need a bunch of fancy bells and whistles and all that kind of stuff. It's a simple, basic filter that does exactly what I want, and it's named Whisper for a reason. It is very, very quiet, and they just last forever. So the reason I got the 40, well, it is a 40-gallon tank, but in this case, the reason I got the 40 was because over here we've got my Tetra Whisper 60. This is for a 40 to a 60-gallon tank, and while you would think that this is probably better suited for the tank we are looking at, because this is only a 29-gallon tank, and I went with the sort of double size theory, figuring this is close enough to a 30-gallon tank. We went with the 60-gallon filter. I, of course, can always adjust it to more or less water flow, but for my regular viewers, you will know that my biosponges in this filter, for some reason, I don't know why it is in this particular tank, the biofilters get clogged up with bioscum really, really quickly. Now, I did just clean these out about 3 days ago, but it doesn't matter because they are fully cycled in filters. They have fully active, living, growing bacterial colonies on them, and that biosponge is the same size biosponge as what goes in this little 40 filter. So I'm going to set the filter up. I'm going to steal one of those biosponges out of that filter, leave one behind, so I won't be crippling my 29-gallon tank, and I will be putting a pre-established filter right into this tank. So I know that was a long intro, but that's what we're getting ready to do. The second half of this video will probably be a lot shorter. It'll just be the tank. Once I've got the filter on there, we'll figure out how we're going to do that. So give me a minute, and I'll be right back. Alright, that took all of 2 minutes. So there it is, it's up and running. I'm even able to use it as a plant holder for my geranium here. You can hardly tell it's there, so it doesn't really disrupt the look too much. I'm still not sure what I want to do with this. I do still have aphids in here. In fact, they're growing in numbers to the point where I can actually see them down here, and they're starting to get on the daylilies again. So I either need to get all this out of here or I need to start spraying. I've considered, you know, I can simply water all of that stuff by plugging the, you know, connecting the hose back up and then simply plugging the pump in for 30 seconds, letting the water run, and then shutting it back off. If I get a little bit of leakage from that, you know, I can deal with a little bit of drips here and there, but I'm not trying to have this thing just, you know, dripping. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Let me get my big light turned on here for a moment. I had this turned off. I just don't really feel like I need this that brightly lit, considering it doesn't have any source of water. I could also just take a watering can and water it and keep it going. I've considered doing something like that because I really would like to have, you know, this bright, colorful, cheery green area to come to. I mean, that's kind of the point of having this down here, especially over the winter months. It gives me this rather than cold bleakness outside. So I don't know. I don't want to take all of the plants and everything out of here. I'm just not really sure what I want to do. But my main goal today was just getting this fish tank back to being healthy, and we've done that. I put a new filter on it, and as I just said, we pulled the bio filter out of the other tank and put it in there. And I did use the original sock type filter that comes with it. When you buy these Tetra filters, you can buy replacements for the filters, which I recommend not doing. But when you get your first one, it comes as sort of a sock, and this has the carbon in it already. And then when you take this little clip off, you just slide that sock off, and there's a little plastic frame on the inside that it slides over to hold it firmly in place. And so what I do is I just buy the polyester batting, and I use that same frame, and I just wrap the batting once around that, and it works perfectly as a filter. And so I get replacement filters for pennies, literally pennies a piece. I can replace that filter since I don't use carbon anyway. I just shot a video recently about carbon. I'll attach a card for whatever that's worth if you haven't seen it yet. But I don't run carbon in my tanks, and so the only reason I'm running this is I just didn't even think about it when I opened up the package. I normally keep those, the filter part comes in a bag, a sealed bag, and I normally keep them that way for emergencies in case I ever really do need a replacement filter or I do need the carbon for some reason. And in this case, when I opened the bag, I just tore everything open, and hey, there's the filter. So now we've got a brand new filter with some carbon in it, and if nothing else, it'll help pull a little bit of the tannins out of the water for a few hours, and then it'll pretty much be filled up and used up, and it won't be doing anything, which is why I don't really use carbon in my tanks. It doesn't really serve much of a purpose for me. At any rate, there you go. There's my, not really waterfall tank anymore. I don't know how long I'm going to have to keep the air stone in there. Now that we've got a filter and we've got some more circulation going, I'm going to keep the water level a little bit low so we keep a little bit of a waterfall effect going here. That should give us plenty of aeration, plenty of circulation, and we shouldn't really need to worry about this air stone. But better safe than sorry for now. I want to make sure the nitrogen cycle is okay, and over the next several days I'm going to keep an eye on the ammonia levels and make sure they're not coming up or anything else, and they shouldn't be at this point, but you never know. Now that we've got good circulation, though, everything should be fine. So there you go, everybody. Make sure you're subscribed. That way you won't miss any updates on this or anything else I got going on. You never know what you're going to get here with me. So make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss any of it. So don't forget this one here. We're still going to call it my waterfall tank because I guess technically all I got to do is plug it back in, and it still is. So there you go. Thanks for watching. I'll see you real soon in the next one.